Joe, what do you get when you mix poison ivy with a 4-leaf clover?
What?
A rash. Okay, so it's St. Patrick's Day, and I hope this year it doesn't go as bad as last year. Last year, I got so drunk.
How drunk did you get?
I took the bus home. It wasn't my bus. I took the bus home. I stole a bus. I was drunk.
So, did you get arrested for anything, like drunk driving or stealing a bus? You don't even have a class. Was this Class C license?
I don't have
or
any
class.
class. And so, as we always talk on the show about, like,
What show?
Thank you, Carnival Personnel Podcast. I'm Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And on this podcast, we often talk about
what show?
The Japanese holiday National Founders Day, which is pronounced, I believe, Kenkoku Kenenbi. And
you don't even know what you just said, man.
And what is the difference between Kenkoku Kenenbi and St. Patrick's Day?
What?
On St. Patrick's Day, everybody wants to be Irish. That's a long way to go to insult Biff and his people.
It's about a month late, apparently. I think it's, February 1st is the National Foundation Day?
No, but I'm just saying on that day. See, last year I looked up a Portuguese holiday.
No, you didn't. We don't have any.
Yes, you did, because you had to look it up afterwards. And I used that same joke.
I've forgotten already.
It's like, because I almost did it again. I'm like, oh, let me look for a Portuguese holiday, because the old joke is, what's the difference between this ethnic holiday and St. Patrick's Day? And you say, like our friend, the Mexican, Zach, I would always say the difference between Cinco de Mayo and St. Patrick's Day is everybody wants to be Irish on St. Patrick's Day, which is a roundabout way of belittling the great people of Mexico, or the rapist and drug dealers, as our the guy at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue will call them. Anyways, let's move on.
This week on Tangents with Jacques.
We're just skipping the fat shaming because it's an awful week.
Why?
No, again,
we can't skip the fat shaming. The people tune in for the fat shaming. Don't take away the shaming, Jacques.
Only got in 2 workouts. The rank had an event going on, so this is now the 3rd week without skating, and it's killing me. I'm literally going to just go to public skating 2 or 3 times next week. If I'm going to play in Phoenix, I have to have. I mean, it's just embarrassing how far I am from the greatness that the people on the John Taylor Fertilizer, organization have come to expect out of me over the last 20 years.
Why don't you just throw on a Bruins jersey and sneak into a practice? Like, seriously, like, it happens in movies,
all the time.
You just walk in and there, the security guard looks at you with the jersey on and goes, all right, another white guy with a jersey, go on in.
So, I was going to say, as I was putting the rundown together, I don't want to say it's somber. It's not the best news, but I want to talk a little bit about one of your heroes, and here to everybody.
America's hero.
America's, truly. He's Canadian. The great Alex Trebek.
Yes, he put out a message on social media basically saying that he wanted to get ahead of the news by coming out and addressing directly to his fans and the public that he had just been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. That's the worst kind.
Well, stage 4, in medical terms, it means really check the expiration date on the milk before you buy it, because it's going to be around before you are.
That's where apparently the cancer has metastasized and is spread to other organs and basically a death sentence. Like, I heard there's a less than 3% survival rate for that kind of cancer, but he's putting on the Canadian stiff upper lip and saying he's going to fight it. And that he also threw in a little joke there. He says, I have to survive because according to my contract, I have to do another 3 years of hosting Jeopardy.
And he started his little message with saying, like 50 million people find out.
50,000.
50,000 people find out every day that I have this. And he, by doing that completely, it's kind of like reaching out to all those people and saying, this is awful, but you're not alone. And I did. He handled, like, it was a minute and 5-second little message. but it was so Trebekian. It was like dignified, grace, elegant, and positively uplifting.
And a little funny at the end. And yes, I thought it was and the, you can say what you want about, I mean, people, rag on Jeopardy sometimes as being like too nerdy or whatever, but everybody likes, if not loves, Alex Trebek because, as stiffly as he's portrayed by Will Ferrell on Jeopardy, he is kind of, and Ken Jennings actually equated him to like this generation's kind of Walter Cronkite in a way, where, before Jeopardy was rebooted in '84 with Alex Trebek as the host, you had Walter Cronkite as that sort of voice of reason and that voice of authority. And then, that kind of went away. But now, we've been so diluted as a society that now we have to get most of our information from a game show host. And Alex Trebek is probably the one that would best fits the bill. So Godspeed, Alex Trebek. Hope you pull through.
And you touched on it. He did birth one of the best, like, running skits on Saturday Night Live. And I love how on Will Ferrell's last episode, he was on it too.
And they've referenced the skit on the show. Like, they'd have contestants during Final Jeopardy saying, suck it, Trebek, or something like that. And he has to read whatever is written on the screen, usually. I mean, unless it's like something that they have to stop tape for. I know, you're all choked up over there.
I have seen a what is Turd Ferguson?
Oh, right, yes. Yeah, right.
And it was like somebody who was like -4 didn't have any idea what the answer
He wasn't
was.
even supposed to play Final Jeopardy, and he's somehow answering the question. I mean, questioning the answer. Damn it. So, get well. And also, if you want to see, like, loosey-goosey kind of Playboy version of Alex Trebek, watch, which you won't, on the game show channel Buzzer. They rerun Classic Concentration, which is the game with the rebus, and they have the 25 tiles where you have to pick match the two tiles and uncover the puzzle. He, I think, was between marriages at the time, and he was very Bob Barker gave him a standing ovation on how well he flirted with the female contestants.
So Bob Barker's here.
To your left,
Richard Dawson is here. Where
Trebek? He's on a scale, right? On a scale of Bob Barker to Richard Dawson, I'd put him at a Pat Sajak after a few rounds of drinks. I don't know. Pat Sajak's a guy, I guess.
So next weekend, St. Patrick's Day, I believe, without going back in the archives and listening to last year's show, zero research has been done. Still have no fucking idea what it is. Something about chasing snakes out of Ireland.
Yeah, which is actually, according to my wife, who is kind of well-read in Irish history and literature, the snakes were the Gaelics. I mean, the Celts. Like that, St. Patrick was the saint that drove, or the person on the Catholic Church who helped eliminate the people of the old religion, because Ireland wasn't always Catholic. It had converted, when the Inquisition came through or something.
You heathen.
Yeah, exactly. So the snakes represent the old religion, the pagans, if you will, and St. Patrick helped drive them out. So yeah, religious persecution goes way back. Way back.
I've never been to Ireland. You have?
Yes, I have.
But when living in Qatar, a couple people on our compound that we became very good friends with, a couple Irish families from Ireland, and I remember, once they were saying "Happy St. Patrick's Day," and the guy was like, "What? It is not a big holiday over there.
No.
It's like I'm trying to think, what we could wait.
Columbus Day in Italy. Is there a Columbus Day in Italy?
I don't know.
No.
But like what is the lowest of the low, here,
You know what it is. You just don't want to say what the lowest of. I don't know what you're talking
about. What as we record this?
Oh, like Arbor Day?
Yeah, something like that. Like an Arbor Day thing.
Yeah, right. Here.
And one of the neighbors has never been to America, but is well aware of like how over the top it is. Like in like Chicago, they dye the river green, and it's a big drinking thing.
It's really an excuse to dump toxic waste. Let's be real about why it's green.
And why? Yes,
oh, Joker, you got us again.
I've never been to the Amex chemical company, but do they really have big open vats like that? I don't work for OSHA, but I'm not thinking.
Right.
But this guy, I mean, he's not offended, but he thinks it's like, yeah, it's just you guys are all idiots. Now, I'm all for you being stupid and drinking and wearing green, but just do that on your own.
Right. And if you don't know, we can't officially take St. Patrick's Day off in Boston. But we got around that. We called it Evacuation Day. So growing up in like Somerville, Charlestown, Boston, the surrounding areas, every March 17th, sorry, instead of St. Patrick's Day, we took off Evacuation Day, which the adults in the area tended to evacuate themselves all over the public streets of Boston. Yes, all over Copley Plaza.
So we are now into March. So we all knew February was
lousy Smarch weather.
We knew February was what was it? It was Blackface History Month last month, apparently.
Jesus Christ!
Now we are into Women's History Month.
Or
as I like to call it, "Where's my sandwich?" Get it, Joe? See, I said, "Where's my sandwich?" This moment of misogyny was brought to you by...
That's not funny.
It's not funny.
That's not funny.
Want to hear a joke? And last year, we all the way home. Last year, every week during March, we talked about a different pioneering female comic. Could do the same thing again. If we were doing it this year, I would probably go with Miss Maisel, one of my favorite comedians from the late 50s, early 60s. But because of the political culture where we are and the vast number of, very prominent women politicians, all of which are Democrats, I believe. Are there any prominent Republican?
Well, the woman from Maine.
The woman from Maine, the woman who was the governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley.
Yeah, Nikki Haley, right. I mean, you have Sarah Sanders.
But
you have Kellyanne Conway. You have Melania Trump. You have all these prominent women. What?
Yeah, we're talking real. So this week, and I'm not an expert, but I do remember I was like 15. Geraldine Ferraro was the first, woman on a presidential ticket for one of the two main parties.
Yeah, she was the running mate of Walter Mondale. So she shares the blame in the landslide loss that they shared.
Was it? I don't know.
It was 49 states to 1.
It was the biggest landslide.
Yes, I think so. Maybe not. Maybe either the biggest or tied for the biggest, because unless you get all 50 states or all 48 states, or all 13 states, however far back you want to go. Yeah, I think he only won. What was it? Minnesota.
I think it was Massachusetts.
No, his home state.
Did he win?
I think he won his home state.
Okay.
Yeah, like Mondale.
And what's the tragedy is that's 1984. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking
very Orwellian.
Well, yes, very, very, very. We're talking 35 years ago, and as far as I know, there's only been one woman on a presidential ticket since then. And
I remember.
And I like. So I was dwelling on this like the last couple days. On one hand,
wait a second. No, there are two. There's Sarah Palin.
Right, that's what I mean.
And Hillary Clinton.
No. But you're right. I misspoke before Hillary Clinton. But in that whole time. Before Hillary, and thing has changed since 2016. I mean, I think it's seeing different, but you went that long without, a major party, doing that. And that's why I think she kind of gets a little lost to like, history, but that was a huge deal. But it's kind of shocking that it's taken 35 years and we still don't have the only female vice president that I know of is from Veep. What's her face?
Oh God, I
Julia
don't know.
Louise.
Julia Dreyfus, but I forgot the character's name because I don't watch Veep because I am a shitty person. I have HBO. Don't want to watch one of the funniest shows on television. I'll pass. I'll wait till it's 20 years old, and I'll go watch it on Amazon Prime.
Joe Biden.
It'll still be around, folks. It'll still be around. Yeah. So I mean, well, Geraldine Ferraro maybe is to blame for the 35-year drought. You know, maybe. We should be woman shaming. Wait, where am I going with this? You know, yeah, America wasn't ready then. And
I'm the bad one.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
But
Go
in
on.
2015, man, were they ready to pile on the misogyny in. Mm-hmm. But
So good. Do you have any more facts about Geraldine Ferraro?
I mean, she passed away in 2011. But a very active career politician to the end.
What state was she from?
I don't know.
Yeah, see?
I don't know. I should know these things. I shouldn't bring it up without knowing.
I know.
A quick Google search would have had all this information.
Oh, God.
But I would have voted for the Mondale, ticket with her in '84, except I was 15
And, yeah.
and stupid.
You're the bone spurs. That excuse didn't fly. So let me look up Geraldine Ferraro real quick because we'll never get around to her ever again. Let's see. She was from the New York's 9th District, House of Representatives.
I think she was from New York.
Yes.
Don't hate me.
But she died in Boston, Massachusetts. So, local girl. Done good.
Good.
Okay. Rest in peace. Was this some shitty tribute? Do you have anybody else that you want to honor?
No.
It is International Women's Day.
Did you do anything special on International Women's Day?
It's not over yet.
Did you make me a sandwich?
Will you stop?
Okay.
Will you stop? They can make other things, okay? It's not just about sandwiches. You are so
Cake?
one-minded.
Pie?
That's what I'm saying. Broaden your horizons. I mean, they have all these baking shows on for a reason.
They're for the gays.
What? Can you? What? Is this Fox News that I stumbled onto?
Well, why am I me?
Right? Seriously, please.
So speaking of not good people and not good people who have HBO, have you watched the documentary about Michael Jackson?
Dude, I meant to. They were running it on HBO right as I was about to, hit the snooze. And I literally fell asleep like a minute before it started. But I've heard recaps about it.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Dude, I can't watch it. And I'm dead serious. To sidebar for just a second. In the Resident Evil game, you can play one of two characters in Resident Evil 2 I'm playing. I don't like playing the Claire character because she kind of has to rescue this child who's in peril. Even in a video game, I can't take children being hurt or mistreated. Like I physically, it has such a visceral effect on me that I'm like, nope. I literally.
So you couldn't even watch Michael Jackson's Moonwalker because Annie, the girl getting kidnapped, was in peril. And then he had to sing "Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? At the bedroom window." That's
the thing that we got to talk about.
My singing. Oh, okay,
so in LA, I was in LA during the trials, and I remember the euphoria when he got acquitted, and a lot of people, and I mean this, I remember watching in our office, and there was legitimate concern from the company if he ended up going to jail that it could spark riots, that it would literally spark riots. Akin to
not
like
flash mobs,
like a Rodney King, and a lot of people, and I remember same thing with OJ. People equated OJ being found innocent and Michael Jackson being acquitted
as like appeasing the masses.
Yes, I'm not kidding. And there was a lot of people who were like, "Well, these motherfuckers are guilty as hell," but thank goodness because we don't want another Lakers championship victory riot here. That said, it's not that I followed those cases very carefully. I just remember the small office that I shared. There was always, there's a TV in there, and like CNN was always just on, and you couldn't help but hear all the, I knew way too much about the case. And I know that the case, the very famous case about the two brothers who came forward, it was, they were.
Oh, the Menendez.
No. So would you leave those poor orphans alone? And they, but with the Michael Jackson case, past district attorneys, that were doing the talking heads, making the news cycles, and saying it's like, yeah, we had about 10 people before who got right up to the day where we were going to arrest him, and then mysteriously dropped off the map, mysteriously recanted, mysteriously,
came into a lump sum of money
and said, no, we're not going forward with this. And as much as awful people like me will make the jokes about it, it's like with the priest things. These been running jokes for 30 years. This is the worst kept secret ever. Not victim shaming. I don't want to sound racist, but the next thing out of that person's mouth is awful. I don't want to victim shame. However, what the fuck were parents? I mean, but then again, the people that he targeted, the people that he groomed, the people that, grooming, I think is the right word. Just awed and starstruck. I mean, you're a little younger than me, but seriously,
I'm a lot.
The last quarter of the last century, from like 1975 to 2000, name for me the bigger entertainers in music.
Besides Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. I mean, are there more than a couple? I mean, like his sustained presence and prominence. I mean, from being a kid, from being in the Jackson 5, from having their own Saturday morning cartoons, from being an icon.
I would have to. I'll see you're Michael Jackson, and I'll raise you one Donny Osmond.
Oh, point counterpoint. Jane, you ignorant slut.
Joe, you ignorant slut.
And then, but seriously, the whole the tour in the 80s and the Pepsi and the moonwalking. So you think of the Jackson 5 and some of the more iconic footage and songs. I mean, even Guardians of the Galaxy brought back I Want You Back a few years ago. Mm-hmm. Their tours with, as a kid, Diana Ross is opening for them, type thing. The whole moonwalking on MTV Music Awards.
No, actually, Motown 25.
Was that what I remember? Like being at my uncle's house, the world, and I mean this. It's like the world changed.
Yeah.
It's like it, and
the moon landing and then the moon walking.
And what's the difference between Neil Armstrong and Michael Jackson?
What?
Well, Neil Armstrong is famous for walking on the moon. Michael Jackson's famous for fucking small boys. But again, those horrible,
it's hard to move on when
jokes.
you don't hear the laughter, huh?
There is no.
Throws off your timing.
It used to be right. Why was Michael Jackson at the mall? He heard boys' pants were half off. When is it time to go to bed at Neverland? When the big hand touches the little hand. Anyways, so all the recaps that I've heard about this, and I guess there's phone records, like people kept the voicemail recordings and the letters, and it's like. Again, this was somebody who targeted people. This wasn't an accidental moment. This wasn't, a circumstance or happenstance and stuff like that. There was a lot of orchestration that went, and I put it in league with the Catholic Church where there was a lot of moving pieces to make these serial rapes go on not once or twice, decades. And here's my question. It's like, we've talked about this. Management, my wife, as you would like to say, loves Michael Jackson. She went to Michael Jackson's funeral in L.A. Do you know much about his funeral in L.A.?
No.
Dude, it didn't fill the Staples Center. It filled the Staples Center in Los Angeles, and across the street, like literally, you walk across the street, 50 yards. I forget the Nokia Theater, which is another 7,000, seat venue.
Yeah.
They had overflow, and that was filled, with a big screen, and they had every prominent singer, actor, politician, leader. I mean, just with these, it shut down Los Angeles. It absolutely, in the middle of a work week, shut down Los Angeles, filled.
I went to the
this dinner.
Farrah Fawcett funeral instead. It was a much shorter line.
She.
I had easy pass right up to the casket. Touched the hair and everything.
I was going to say nobody was watching, but that's the thing. It's like this person was just revered his entire life. Now, he was eccentric. The whole thing with the chimp and the Elephant Man bones and the stories.
That was a rumor.
But that's the crazy thing. It's like there was so much crazy rumor, urban legend, innuendo that I think this was just another thing. And people apologized for it. And correct me if you or let me know if you have a different take on this. But people always kind of overlooked it because no, he's not being inappropriate with these children. He didn't have a childhood because he was entertaining you and the masses, and he was treated like shit by his dad. His childhood was stolen, and he misses the innocence. He loves being around these children because he didn't get it. He wants to give these children this dream childhood that he couldn't have, and it's his way of living a childhood that he was robbed of.
It was both. Turned out it was both. I was of the... See, I saw the episode of South Park. This is how feeble-minded I am. There was an episode of South Park where Michael Jackson moves into town, and he starts to, party with the kids. But there's nothing, gross going on, but everybody thinks that something gross is going on. But at the end of the episode, they sort of play it off like, no, he's just he's an immature person, and he's not a sexual predator. Unfortunately, you can be both. You can have your childhood taken from you, and maybe have that. Maybe that could have shaped his sexuality. It could have shaped his approach to relationships going forward. So maybe, he probably did have his childhood taken from him, but at the same time, he didn't reconcile any sort of, he could have just been in a state of arrested development.
Well, Macaulay Culkin had his childhood stolen from him. His parents were awful. They stole his childhood. They stole his money. He's given us some great movies. Don't think he's raped any children. There's
Yet.
That we know of.
Right. No, he's a nice guy.
So here's a different, take on it. I drop a name, but nobody would know who it is. For 10 years, I hung out with a buddy in LA, like a friend who was in the same circle, who lived with a number of times, off and on, with Lisa Marie Presley. Was friends and lived with her. They were a thing for a couple of years, broke up. She ends up marrying Michael. They fall apart, and then my buddy and her had got back together. I've met her a couple dozen times. He would always say Lisa Marie and Michael Jackson were still friends, afterwards. And he said it'd be the weirdest thing when he calls. Hey man, this is Michael. Is Lisa around? It's no weird voice, no the high pitched, I never took a phone call from Michael Jackson. I've never been in the room and heard it on speakerphone, but he's always attested, as did the other people, that that's all an act. That is 100% an act. That when he's
nobody fronts for that long. Nobody. No. He may be a different. We all act differently in front of different people. What's that?
Turns out Bobcat Goldthwait doesn't talk like that.
So where are we going with this? So I actually, while we're on the subject, I wanted to show you I have a collector's item in light of this.
Please do.
What's that say? I'm handing you something.
The Simpsons, the complete third season, DVD collector's edition.
All right. Now, why is this a collector's item all of a sudden? It contains an episode called Stark Raving Dad, in which Michael Jackson voiced.
Has it since been pulled?
It will be pulled. Matt Groening, Al Jean, and one other of the Simpsons creators or writers basically got together and said, after watching Leaving Neverland, we're going to put the wheels in motion to get all of this shit pulled. From all the streaming, future Blu-ray releases.
Thing is,
everything.
And the 2 points I want to make with this. you have to want to not know. There has to be a willingness, because this isn't. And again, I've had this argument, and it's gone from conversation to argument, because my wife, management, there's certain people like, okay, you and I are going to go see Norm Macdonald in a couple weeks. When the whole thing with Louis C.K. happened, Norm Macdonald didn't apologize for him, didn't say, hey, I'm cool that he did this, but in a statement was something akin to, yeah, it was stupid, but it's not like he, like, I forget exactly what he said. Like, yeah, jerking off in front of these women is stupid, but it's not like he sodomized them. You know what I mean?
Right.
That has made my wife not want me to go see Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
You go down the list, whether it's, Kevin Spacey, whether it's Louis C.K. She was one of those people that it's like, well, I know you really like Al Franken, but he did this egregious thing. I'm okay with him
burning in hell.
Right. You go down the and
now it comes to Michael Jackson.
And she always says, and it's one of those things. It's like, well, he wasn't found guilty. I'm like, neither was O.J. Simpson. I mean, if you want to play that game, it's like, and I told her, and my thing has always been like, look, how many allegations do they have to be? Now, were there false allegations? I'm sure there was. This is one of the richest, most easily targeted person in the world. And if somebody wanted to shake him down, I'm quite sure he's been the subject of like blackmail and threats and all these things through his life. But how many credible allegations? How many times have there been court cases that started to move forward that, again, like we talked about, mysteriously went away? This is one of those things where, like, and until Spotlight, the movie, comes out, how do people look the other way for hundreds of years with the Catholic Church? Same thing. It's like, you have to not want to know. And since I lived in LA in the early 90s when this was going on, as much as, again, it sounds victim shaming, it's like, how did the parents let your children stay there overnight?
Yeah, well, they were crazy.
Starfucker.
Yeah, starfucker. They were stage parents. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you've seen firsthand, I'm sure.
It's awful, right?
These types of parents.
It's why I want to let my boys do stuff. When so many times when we were living there, especially the older one, I mean, Harry was such a gorgeous child. How many people would stop us and say, hey, I do this, I do that. I've produced things that I haven't wanted to put them in just because I don't even want to go. I'm friends with a few guys who turned out great, who were child actors. Funny enough, none of their children are in it. Like they've not put their kids, in that business and stuff like that. Anyways, it's like, I don't think I can see it, but because if you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's a question now. And this is a legitimate question. They pulled Louis C.K.'s show off the air. Mm-hmm. How does the radio stations not stop playing this?
Well, they can stop playing Michael Jackson.
No, but do they? Will they?
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking some of the biggest songs. Was it bad? Is it bad? Like Thriller. How much?
Yeah.
And I mean this. You're an '80s guy.
Yeah.
Off the top of our heads, if we sat here now and thought how many TV shows have referenced or parodied the Thriller dance?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it'll happen. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's whether it's forever or whether it's for the time being, that stuff will be pulled. I'm sure if I went on 80s on 8 right now, you won't hear one Michael Jackson song for the next, 3 months.
Rock and Roll Part 2 by
Gary
Glitter.
That used to be an anthem at stadiums. Nobody plays it.
Couldn't go to a single A baseball game or an NHL game and everything in between. Right, because of that. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, you think about it, like movies like 13 Going on 30, like the big scene in the movie, like was doing the Thriller dance. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Not 13 Going on 30. You're telling me you're going to ruin 13 Going on 30 for me now?
Did I really use that? Was that really what I went with this? Oh, I'm going to lift that down. Where's the edit?
Is there a minus stupid button on this machine?
But yeah, no, it's I don't want to see it because I already know enough. But it's like,
I can't watch Revenge of the Nerds now, not because of the rape scene, but because they danced to Thriller.
I'm pretty sure that the Saudi prince knew about Khashoggi's dismemberment. I don't have to see the footage. I know it was awful.
Although, you know what? I think I will be playing Michael Jackson's Moonwalker on Sega Genesis later on tonight.
You're not.
You're not a very good person.
I put this on the rundown for absolutely no reason. I heard a song. Harmonicas used to be a big thing in music. You don't hear it much anymore, and I say good. I don't know why I brought that up.
I blame John Popper. I mean, I think he harmonica'd everybody out with Blues Traveler in the 90s.
I mean, when crowds go nuts when somebody pulls out a harmonica, it's like, why? Okay,
harmonicas are cool.
Bob Dylan playing.
First of all, Bob Dylan playing harmonica
while
is
playing
like
guitar,
me playing harmonica. While,
right.
I mean, come on.
But people go, woo! It's like, if there's a musical instrument that you can sound okay with, having never touched it, taking it on the back.
If you hear a good harmonica playing live, you lose your shit. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you came from.
Have you ever heard good harmonica playing live?
I don't get out a lot. I heard good accordion music being played live, but let's not get into that. So what? So are you calling? So you're saying, thank goodness there are no what?
I just put it there because
what were you listening to?
I don't
Come on,
remember.
There's got to be a trigger. What triggered the harmonica? Tell me where the harmonica touched you. Show me on this Pepsi bottle.
I will tell you.
Bottle.
I remember I think it was a couple Christmases ago, or one of the boys' birthdays, somebody gave a harmonica. I instantly nope. And, I don't remember if I threw it in the trash.
Now, what's the difference between a harmonica or a Jew's harp? You know what? I'm baiting you, baby.
The awful Semitic things that are trying to bottlenecked, trying to get out. There's so many.
There's so many misogynistic jokes in the way. Anti-Semitic jokes can't get out.
One doesn't pick up the check. I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll save that. If you want to caption that punchline, put it on our Facebook page so you can have it flagged and taken down finally.
So I've always bashed, made
a lot of things.
Made the Japanese joke already, but I will, say it's come out in the last week, a couple weeks, and we haven't really talked about it. Bloatus was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize by Japan, and the spokespeople, have absolutely come out and said, yeah. We basically had to. He basically said, please do this. We need you to do this. Please do this. Oh.
I thought they were rickrolling him. Like he was going to show up and they were going to play. We're never going to give you up.
I wish so, but it's like, come on, Japan. Put on those little white gloves.
There would have been a karaoke version of it.
Do that. All right. We're not going to talk too much about it, but
really?
Joe, Paul Manafort has been found guilty of, I don't remember exactly how many crimes, but I think it was 614. He was found guilty of. Then he was found guilty of breaking the agreement he had to be a cooperating witness, for the Mueller investigation. Then it turned out, while he was in jail, awaiting
he left
sentencing,
the toilet seat up.
Not only did he leave the toilet seat up, still committing crimes to the point where they had to move. They moved him from prison A to prison B. Prison B was more lush, and he had more access to his computer and all these things. Then it turned out, without getting into details, he was still orchestrating and committing crimes from jail. They moved him back to the other jail, limited his access at that point, and he was. He'd have a computer that was privileged between him and his lawyers to send emails out because he couldn't send them out from jail, and it's like he would write them, give them the computer, they would leave the jail, and as soon as they got a Wi-Fi connection, let the crime. I mean, so even while being in jail for committing these crimes, was still committing these crimes. Showed absolutely no remorse. Even in his speaking, he spoke just before the sentencing, was not apologetic, was not remorseful at all. They clung.
He did show up in a wheelchair, though.
They clung to They clung to, well, he's old and feeble, and he lived a righteous life right up into these decades of committing crimes and treason. And by the way, he was an altar boy. Honestly, I'm not joking.
And it wasn't. What was it, the term that you said about his life? It was like an something.
Oh, what?
No, I know what it was. It was an otherwise blameless life.
Blameless life.
Because somebody on Twitter put, I don't know what it was, but they put at the top, they wrote like the music note, I want something else to get me through this, and then circled the quote, otherwise blameless life. baby, I want something else. Okay,
the sentencing recommendation, not by Mueller, but by what these crimes call for, 19 years at the bottom end, 24 years at the high end. So the bottom of the barrel, the least he can walk out of court with last week was 19 years. 19 years. And
well, he's paying them in 448-month installments. I don't know.
47 months.
Yeah, 47
the fucker gets, honestly, a quarter of the low end. Now, and the judge is like, well, I think these recommendations come from, these are what the crimes are. Whether you commit this crime in Hawaii or Rhode Island, it's a federal crime. So this is what they call for. It wasn't like Mueller said, I think he's awful, this is what it should be. Flat out, this is like the sentencing guidelines.
Yeah, the prosecutors were just like, hey, this is what it says in the rule book. Aside from that, an elephant can't pitch.
Because it doesn't say that.
Right.
There's nowhere.
Nothing in the rule book that says an elephant can't pitch.
I mean, when you say on one hand, you think about it. The acting campaign manager for the sitting president is going to jail for 4 years. However, it truly should be 19. The only saving grace, and that's done. That ship has sailed. Some of the excuses I heard, it's like, well, if it was 19 to 24 years, bloaters would come in and say, that's crazy, that's excessive, and that's why I'm going to pardon him, because it's this crazy, excessive thing. And then there'd be more sympathy towards the pardon for it, for a 70-year-old guy getting 24 years, let's say. The only saving grace here, the two saving graces, he gets sentenced, I think, next week in New York, because this was the Virginia crimes. He was in 2 trials simultaneously. He was found guilty of 14 crimes. 5, it was a hung jury on, and Mueller could have gone back and filed against those 5 things in Virginia, which he didn't. And Manafort pled guilty to the New York crimes after that. Like, he was going to fight that. The high end of those crimes in New York, I think, is like 10 years. And I'm hoping that the judge in New York gives him 10 years and has it so it's, you know how you can commit 1,000 crimes and you get 100 years for these 10 crimes. So you got 1,000 years, but it runs concurrently.
Yeah, you wanted to run consecutively, or what was it? It's concurrently, or is it consecutive?
Whatever way. This 10 years starts after that 4 years, so the fucker is in there for 14 years. That's my only hope, and I really hope that the judge in New York is seeing how outraged, like, the people are.
Well, I have a theory that the Virginia judge sentenced them so low so there weren't going to be riots in Russia, because you don't want those people getting on your bad side.
I don't think you do. But again, it's one of those things where, and I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but a poor kid.
Why? Because you can't
poor kid gets pulled over with a joint in his car. There are people in this country who have,
Well, they're targeting. They're comparing this to the black woman who accidentally voted in an election, like a local election, she wasn't supposed to. She got 5 years in prison.
There's a woman who recently shot her estranged, abusive husband, who climbed over a wall. He had a restraining order, climbed over like a 6-foot wall.
Beautiful wall.
To get into her house. And she shot him in self-defense, and she got like 20 years. It's like, here's the record of the 10 times he's been arrested for beating the shit out of her. Here's him coming into her house unlawfully while she has a restraining order and anyways, it's just fucking awful. And it's like hard. I mean, this is it. This is one of those other things. It's like, white collar crime, really rich guy connected to the president truly gets away with crimes that should have put him away for 24 years. Anyways, happy New Year. What else do we got here? Do you even want to talk?
We're at the 45-minute mark.
All right,
buddy.
so we're done. Where do we go from here? You drive the ship.
Oh, I don't want to drive the ship because I see an iceberg. Iceberg right ahead.
I will point out that. Do you have thoughts about the Dems like passing legislation, like kind of the anti?
That is such a pussy kind of like bending over to please the Republican base.
Well, like let's get rid of Al Franken because this is one. So I almost said a rookie, a freshman congresswoman from Minnesota who happens to be Muslim has made a couple. She's being said that she made a couple anti-Semitic comments. Here's the deal. You can say I disagree with policies that Israel has. I disagree with special interests. You can say I hate the NRA and how they influence things. But if you say, I hate this one interest group that gives a lot of money that happens to be Jewish, doesn't make you anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
You can hate policies that Israel has. You can say, I believe in a two-state thing, and I think Israel's being dicks. You can say a couple years ago where there was a rock-throwing incident and 2 Israeli soldiers got hit by rocks and 47 people were mowed down. Israel were the douchebags who went a little over-excessive without being anti-Semitic. And so, but again, A, woman, B,
Muslim,
brown, 3, and 4, Muslim. You know what I mean? And
she's a freshman, and
so the Republicans went after her. So what did the Democrats do? To appease them, let's throw in. But at the same time, this woman, I don't know if you saw, there was
what's her name?
Her name, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce.
Oh, you won't. That's why I want you to say it.
Why? Ayhan Omar from Minnesota.
I think is that what it says?
Yeah, I copy and pasted it. I'm not good with that. But so this freshman woman Muslim congressperson was used in a poster with the Twin Towers on fire in the background, and it was like never forget, like equating her with it hung in the State House in Virginia at a Republican
Virginia's on a roll
fundraiser, and nobody said, hey, you know what? This is completely wildly inappropriate. But she puts out a tweet that says, something that, like, she said she didn't realize it was an anti-Semitic trope.
Oops.
But either way.
Well, you know what? She should be making sandwiches, right, Jacques? Nice Muslim sandwiches.
Hummus. But it's an overreaction by the Democrats to, once again, throw one of their own under the bus.
And again, you spoke about Al Franken. She's from Minnesota.
Right. So maybe it's an anti-Minnesota thing.
I think so. I think we got to look into it. I think we should shut down politics in Minnesota until we figure out what's going on.
Figure all this stuff out.
Yeah. Oh my God! So that's it. Are we doing a self-indulgence?
Did you? No, you don't want to.
No.
That's all right. You know what? If we're not feeling it, you.
I don't know what to feel. I don't know. What do you want? I'm your dancing monkey, dancing for money. Do what you want me to do.
Did you want to do? Did you want to try stupid ass Boston face guy?
As what?
As I don't know who you read it as, and then we play it at the end, or
I don't know. It doesn't make. No, I mean
context. I think after doing "Jump" by Van Halen was so good that unless it's going to rise to that,
it will not. It will not. I mean, I think the esoteric songs that you pick are great for you to listen to on your car rides around town. Maybe not so much for the other 12 people who listen. Maybe think of the others.
So if I come up with something as good as "Jump" and Adam Sandler, we'll do it.
Yes, exactly.
But until then,
let's broadcast to the masses, if you will, and let's broadcast, not narrowcast or Jacques cast.
Women History Month. You want to broadcast? I see what you've done
there. You just want to cast broads. What? What am I, Harvey Weinstein? All right, anyways, what am I talking about? Here, let this funk sponsor of the week do the talking.
She didn't understand me. I say let's have a nice white grape raspberry Boku. We're adults, we can choose. Boku is adult flavors. There's no straw involved. We're talking pull tab here. And can you believe she wouldn't even let me go to the juice box aisle, and she'd drive by the supermarket to see if my car was parked outside. I hear now she's seeing a juice box counselor. All I wanted was a Boku.
Boku fruit juice cooler from McCain.
Is that too much to ask?
You know what I drank last weekend?
No. Why would I know?
Wine coolers.
Little Bartles and James?
Yes. Ellen?
Well, it wasn't Bartles and James.
Yes, it was.
They make them? They're still around?
Shocking, dude. Shocking. I'm going to say.
Where's your DeLorean? I want to hop in, too.
I couldn't drink beer.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't. Like, late 80s, early 90s, when Dan and I started hanging out, like, I couldn't drink alcohol. Like, I physically couldn't. So I would get, like, a 2-liter bottle thing of Sunkist, and for every one shot of vodka in there or Southern Comfort, it'd be a big thing like this. Just the taste of it. I had to drown it out and down it. I don't know who or how somebody suggested wine coolers. Dude, have you had a wine cooler? What's the last time you've had a wine cooler?
I think it was 1990 never.
Fruit. Why didn't we tape this? Why weren't we?
We are taping it.
Oh, good. All right, so we can put this in. This isn't off the air. It went down like fruit punch.
Uh-huh.
And here's the thing. They sell them in 4-packs, not 6-pack, because the alcohol content is that much stronger. And you can drink them. So I would drink like 3 or 4 wine coolers in like 45 minutes, an hour, jamming, and not feel it until you feel it.
Yeah.
And then it is a ton of. I think I switched to beer because I could drink like 12 beers per 6 wine coolers.
It's kind of like me and NyQuil.
Right.
You drink it, you don't feel it until you feel it.
And then 3 days later,
Right.
you wake up.
I'm on the Jersey on the Jersey Turnpike for some reason.
So I did. So the other night, it was the first night. The boys were at my mom's. Management was home. She hasn't been home in a few weekends. We had the night. So we're like, let's just rent a couple movies and stay in. And out of the blue, she's like, oh, why don't you go if you're going to go out? Because I went to Redbox. Bailey's or Kahlua. She wanted Kahlua, didn't have it. I got her Bailey's, like a small bottle. And I was going to get some beer. And I'm like, oh, they still make wine coolers. I'm going to try. She laughed at me so hard. She couldn't believe that here's her tough MMA fighting, hockey playing husband enjoying a few Bartle and James wine coolers while watching Bohemian Rhapsody.
Hey, and they thank you for your support.
So that
they were going to be the defunct sponsor until I found out that they still make wine coolers by Bartles and James.
But honestly, like, in the little walk-in fridge, like a tiny little section. I think there was like,
wasn't Reuniti one of those Bartles and the James competitors? Reuniti on ice. That's nice.
So let's see, that was 1990. Never.
Reuniti,
because it feels so. There was a thing, and I would have to check with Dan about this. A friend of mine suggested, I think it was called Cisco, and it was a harder edged wine cooler, and they sold them in like 40s. I swear to God, same thing. You would drink one of these 40s, and you wouldn't feel anything, and you'd be a third on your next one. And truly, that's where you drive the bus home.
Well, don't be ashamed drinking wine coolers.
That's when you wake up blowing Chunks.
But don't be ashamed.
Chunks was my dog.
I get you. That's the thing. Don't be ashamed. If they didn't want people to drink wine coolers, they'd call them wine nerdiers. Shut up, Joe.
Let's get on to sport.
Why not?
I am going to see if I can find a link and post it. My beloved niece, Julia, who has been well documented, is the greatest hockey player who's ever graced the ice at the New Garden.
Bobby who?
No, the New Garden. I made that distinction. Nesson, the network that carries the Bruins games live, they produce 2 shows, one called Behind the Bee, which is like a magazine monthly show hosted by, oh God, who's the guy? I see Dennis Leary. And then they have a show called Bruins Academy. This week's past episode of Bruins Academy was all about the 3-on-3 tournament that my niece participated and the players that the Bruins then took to the All-Star game last month in San Jose. And it was great. I mean, they had probably 10 highlights of her playing in that tournament, a lot of her talking at it. It was fantastic. I was welled up with pride beyond belief, and
Pride meaning man tears.
Yes, I was like management went to say something like, "Oh my God, is that cool?" And I didn't answer her, and she's like, "Did you hear me?" I said, and I just like, mm-hmm. She's like, "Are you crying? You're crying, stupid face."
Where'd you get those tears at the toilet store?
So
Tears in your wine cooler.
Called
Gotcha.
Bruins Academy. It is beyond great.
Okay, well, congratulations to Julia.
Right, to Julia, not
to you. Fuck you.
It's like when people say that, it's like, yeah, I had absolutely nothing to do with that. Except
Congratulations for going through a whole box of Kleenex
there you go.
and tampons. What is your pussy itchy or something? Oh, what?
You are
Stupid.
a little bit, but
A
still
little dumb.
So we'll keep talking about hockey. The Bruins, as we are podcasting, have gone 18 games without a loss in regulation. I think they're 14-0-4, and before their last loss, they had won like 4 in a row. You know, the second best the second best record in the league, and I'm completely excited, except for the fact our friend Paul reminded the F&H group on text the other day, the Stanley Cup is not won in March. Settle down.
Yeah, relax. Cool your jets. And I'm not talking about Winnipeg.
Nicely done.
Is that what they are team?
They are.
Are they in first place?
The Winnipeg Jets became, about 22 years ago, maybe even longer, became the Phoenix Coyotes.
But they're
for some reason. And then when the NHL expanded again, and again and again and again, I think they're up to 91 teams. Winnipeg got a team back.
Yep, right.
Originally, a WHA team from the early 70s who recruited Bobby Hull, overpaid Bobby Hull to come and play there. Anyways, nobody but, well, actually, I was going to say nobody but the F&H guys who was listening, give a shit about that. I was admonished on the group text the other day because I said I was going to mention the local football team for a month.
Sporting squadron.
And I mentioned them a couple times, which I was told if I mentioned them within the month window for every mention, I was going to get a right-wing, over-the-top, complete fake news.
Just like an onslaught of retweets or text memes or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so
right, like these colors don't run, that kind of shit.
No, worse. Like really over the top anti.
Stop right there.
Done,
I get it.
Done. But I'm talking about Robert Kraft. Not
shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Kraft. Kraft. Damn straight.
Well done, dude.
Has nobody on WEEI come up with Kraft as a parody?
You see, that's why you should.
No, you're just not listening hard enough.
They no, I do listen. So he is not taking the advice of one John C. Taylor of TaylorRing.com, who always says, "Admit guilt, apologize, keep the money." In fact, Mr. Kraft, for this misdemeanor charge that I think has a maximum of a $500 fine, is, I'd say, doubling down, but quadrupling to the 20th power down, has assembled a dream team that is being equated with the dream team that OJ had for his double murder.
What are they defending him against? What, like the misdemeanor charges?
Yes.
For... Really? Is this to save face with the NFL? To say, like, I'm putting my best foot forward, or basically saying, like, these charges are flagrantly false, and to prove it, I'm going to hire 17 lawyers to plead my case.
You don't have... With the NFL, as we know with Deflategate, you don't have to have the facts on your side if you brought embarrassment to the league. And it doesn't matter... If he's acquitted, if all the charges are dropped, he will still face a harsh, we talked about that Ursay, who, owns the Colts, got 6 games for felony charges of drug possession and money laundering. The thought is he's trying to keep the tape from ever winding up in TMC's hands because that genie will never go back in the bottle. But he's also fighting.
Kind of like Will Smith.
Thank you. He's all. We'll talk about that when it comes out. I know there's not a lot of people out there not a fan of the Will Smith genie.
Right.
You know,
That would be the world.
that would be apparently. Yeah,
Everybody outside of West Philadelphia.
He was born and raised.
Well, on the playground is where he spent most of his days.
You know, he got into one small.
Oh, no.
fight.
First, he was chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, and just shooting some b-ball outside of school when a couple of guys who, mind you, were up to no good, started making trouble in his neighborhood. We got in one little fight, and his mom got scared, so he said that he's moving with his auntie and uncle in Bel Air. And then he whistled for a cab, and when it came near, the license plate said fresh, and it had dice in the mirror. If anything, he said that this cab was rare, but he thought, nah, forget it. Yo, Holmes, to Bel Air. And then he pulled up to the house around, 7 or 8, and he yelled to the cabbie, yo, Holmes, smell you later. Looked at his kingdom. He was finally there to sit on his throne as the Prince of Bel Air.
So I guess Uncle Phil might be a fan if he was with us today.
Good, bless you, Avery. Forget your last name, Avery Owens. I think
Yeah, in fact, that I know him as Uncle Phil,
he was also the voice of Shredder on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Little known fact.
and this is why I love spending time. with
Anyway, yeah, okay. Go on with your nerd talk about sports.
you. So
I'm throwing the puck.
I heart you so much. So Kraft's trying to keep the tape from coming out, and also make his case that he has a friendship with these people. They've been friends for years. Blah blah blah. He was just visiting.
By the way, did you see the picture of Donald Trump sitting with the owner
Love it.
of the Orchids of Asia
Because
spa?
nothing locally and with me and people like you is going to help us defend Kraft and the Patriots more than showing how friendly he is with Blotus.
So that was they were sitting at a dinner with, no, it was a Super Bowl party. It was a Super Bowl party. But to her credit, in her defense, she had sold the Orchids of Asia spa in 2013. But even then, there was already some sort of allegations that there were some shady things going on at the spas. But, I guess NFL stands for No Fondle League. That is my hot take.
So it's going to be interesting to see where this winds up. Truly, for a $500, 200-hour community service.
It's a slap on the dick.
Can we go to another defunct sponsor of the week?
No.
This
Pretty soon it'll be Carnival Personnel. Can we sponsor our own podcast? Well, actually, we are sponsoring our own podcast because we don't have sponsors.
Before moving on to the random video game review of the week, you got any video game news this week?
I do.
Oh,
Big video game news.
right.
So my son,
Yes.
my son Connor, he does electronic music. He composes originals and he also does remixes. He has a YouTube channel called Chip Boy. I think it might be Game Boy Advantage, but he calls himself Chip Boy. Anyway, he did a remix of a song that was featured in a very popular retro-styled video game called Shovel Knight. And the company that makes Shovel Knight, Yacht Club Games, I guess they do this sort of hashtag Motivation Monday kind of thing on their Twitter feed. They said, check out Chip Boy's remix of this theme, and they linked his YouTube page to their Twitter feed. So my son got a little shout-out from a legitimate developer. And I'm beaming with pride. He actually had to create a Twitter account to thank them for giving him a shout out because he's, not a scumbag like me who lives on Twitter 24 hours a day to avoid the harsh realities of his own world. But I'm a proud father.
You should be. Take a skate around.
I never learned to skate or read. But that's my boy. So now Jacques getting up and leaving finally. So now I can talk about what I really hate about him. No, now he's looking for. There he goes, ruining my displays that I so carefully organized. The blood, sweat, and tears that I poured into organizing those handheld electronic versions of game show games. He's just browsing.
It's like the showcase show.
Right, exactly. Doodly-oo. He's going to go pull anything, just fucking take anything off of any shelf and pretend that I know what it was. All right, he took something off a shelf.
Top shelf.
Top shelf, like the liquor I drink. It's the Sega Genesis collection. Sega. It's not Jam It. It's not Joe Montana football. It could be. It's between J and J.
I will give you a hint. It wasn't a random choice.
I don't know what else we were. What were we talking about? Is it Japan? Is it something Japanese? Is it probably? I don't know. Oh, Jeopardy! Yay! Hey, there we go.
It is. What is Jeopardy?
What is Jeopardy? Yeah, this is a fun, faithful recreation of the Jeopardy from 1992. It shows digitized versions of Alex Trebek and other actual contestants or models playing contestants. But the gameplay is very faithful to the original show. It has the theme, it has the sound effects, the timing, the fonts, tons of questions, 3,500 questions and answers, or is that answers or questions? This is what that's written on the box. And 700 categories. I used to love playing these Jeopardy games alone by myself because I had no friends. This is the only way I could enjoy Jeopardy playing alone because I had no friends. But you could play with up to 3 players if you had 2 other friends, of which I had not. But this is a fun version. I can only imagine how well these questions hold up. Like it's dated. It's from 1992. So, I'm sure there's a lot of Iran-Contra affair stuff in there that I probably wouldn't be able to, a lot of Gorbachev questions that are going to rack my brain. And some sports references that maybe I would get because I think that's when I stopped watching sports on a regular basis. I never watched sports on a regular basis. I like the David Spade thing when he would, talk about watching Wheel of Fortune and then Jeopardy. He's like, I can't stand watching Jeopardy because I'm always like, pick cartoons, man. But this is a fun little game, and I'm sure it goes for a paltry $6. $25.
Yeah, but then there's this compare prices button.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a ripoff, I think. Why? Because it still has the tab. Is that what is making the price jump up?
I don't know.
I mean, what's the average? What do you think the average price is?
The average is actually hovering. Probably if you average it out around $9.
Okay, not bad. And mine has the Manuel.
See,
get it?
I do.
I said Manuel, and you said
I
C.
said C.
Good timing. Timing is everything. But yeah, we'll play Jeopardy later. I think I have sports Jeopardy. I wonder how well you would do in 90s sports Jeopardy.
Probably, sadly, pretty good.
That I have to see. That I would pay money to see. But
I'll take useless stats for 1,000.
What are 3 people who have never been in my kitchen? Which I'm going to get to later.
What have you watched this week?
Damn it. Okay, now it's later because I've been watching Cheers. Prior to my current viewing, I'd seen maybe 6 episodes of Cheers in my life.
Yet we reference it almost every episode.
No, you reference it, and then I pretend to have.
Oh, but you've
seen
seen the thing where I don't get the far side.
Yeah, right. But that's like a snippet of an episode. I don't even know what episode that was from. But I'm watching on Amazon Prime. They have every single season, I believe. So I've started with season 1. I'm about halfway through season 2. I've entered 1984. Let's just say that. It's about a bar based in Boston.
Where is it? Okay.
And it's a place where everybody apparently knows your name, which is a little creepy, in my opinion. It's interesting how well written that show is and how I just missed it because of my age and stupidity. Like, I am a dumb guy. I'm a little smarter now than I was when that show came out when I was 5.
Oh.
I was 5 years. I was watching Three's Company.
Right, so I'm 15.
Yeah, I was watching Three's Company when this show was hot. Because, it was about a bar, and it was about relationships, and that was kind of yucky to me.
For me,
I like misunderstandings.
For me, being that age, all the walk-ons by famous sports people of the time, that they used to do was great.
I'm watching them. The first season has walk-ons by Dick Cavett, Tip O'Neill, the famous Tip O'Neill cameo. who was Speaker of the House. Well, I mean, but then like there's like Fred Dreyer. Do you know what Fred Dreyer is?
Indeed. Who doesn't know who Fred Dreyer is?
You don't.
Hunter?
Yeah, I know. You know.
Who? You ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's go back to the Jeopardy sports things.
Yeah, who did he play for?
He played for the Los Angeles Rams, and one of his claims to fame, he, to date, is the only player in NFL history to have 2 safeties in one game.
Wow.
One game. Yeah, he sacked the...
That's his 4 touchdowns.
Sacked the quarterback in his own end zone twice in one game. Dude, come on, Hunter!
I know.
Ask me about current things. But no, I know. And you also sent me the link from the Leno from the last night, the final episode of Cheers.
Call. Yeah. When Cheers wrapped in '93, the Tonight Show with Jay Leno had decided to do a live from the Bull and Finch pub. It was then still called the Bull and Finch pub with the cast of Cheers live. It was called The Last Call. And it was, I hadn't watched the clip that I had sent you, but from what I remember, they were all shite-faced.
Done. Right,
because this was 11:30 p.m. I don't know.
Because they did it live.
I think they did it live. I'll write it and I'll do it live. Fuck it.
What does play us out mean?
What does that mean? But yeah, so I'm halfway through season 2. Coach,
My favorite coach line, somebody came in and referred to him as Red, kept calling him Red, a player from years. And Diane said, "Oh, Coach, when you were younger, did you have red hair?" Goes, "No, once on a road trip, I read a book on the bus." And
there's a lot of those great wordplay one-liners that are, of course, are escaping me. But I never noticed how, and obviously this is legend, but I've never noticed how Cliff Clavin mispronounced Norm's name. He gave him the shitty Boston accent version of, he called him Nami.
And then remember, that is one of the classic, when we've seen it in sports, we've seen it in movies. Back then you were a TV star or you were a movie star. Very rarely did you do both. It was very rare. And Shelley Long left the then...
Don't spoil it. I only got to halfway through season 2.
The then most popular show, because she, became...
She got the bug.
And I'm not 100% sure on this. She did a big feature, had a couple good hits, done. And it was one of those things...
Well, then she played Carol Brady.
Right, but this show went on for another decade.
Yes.
It was number one. It was a ratings giant.
Yeah, it was like the McLean Stevenson Leaving MASH kind of thing. Right. Another show which I'll catch up in. I think 2020. I think I'm going to watch MASH. But yeah, so I'm next week. Be prepared for me.
MASH is that show that lasted 11 years about the Korean conflict, not a war, never declared a war. That lasted 2.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Right. Yeah. Well, but it was it was actually a parallel for Vietnam.
What?
Yes. It actually had nothing really to do with Korean.
Wow.
Yeah, it was more about the commentary on the Vietnam War. So I'm told. So I'm watching that, and I'm also watching Perfect Bid.
Oh.
The contestant who knew too much.
So I haven't watched it yet. Watched the trailer, and then it turns out the other morning you sent that to me. And my oldest, I drop off the little guy at 7:45, and then I don't have to leave the house for an hour, 20 minutes to take the other one. In that time, you had sent me the text. I'm like, oh, let me watch what this trailer is. And when you watch something, it shows you the similar. Dude, there is a whole genre of video game and game show documentaries.
Right, but this
one went down the rabbit hole of watching. The trailers.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was probably time better spent. No, but I like watching Perfect Bid because
that's the saddest thing ever.
Well, yeah, me watching Perfect Bid.
No, that guy's life. It's like.
Oh, did you? Well, you saw the first.
Well, I saw the trailer.
Yeah,
and it's like how much time he went studying prices on something. What is the most he could have possibly won? And to equate 20 years of dedicating your life to it?
It's not about the money. It's really about the love of the game. I got it. I get it. He's probably semi-autistic. I'm going to say. But he was a math teacher. and he loved crunching numbers and analytics and shit like that. So, and he liked The Price is Right.
Like he cataloged like this fridge, and it was like he would write down like the maker, the model number.
He had an Excel spreadsheet, and then he also, which this is something I related to. There was a program that came out in the 80s called BASIC. It's a programming language.
Right.
And then there's a version called GW BASIC, which was like late 80s, and it came with DOS and early Windows. It was a DOS program. Anyways,
You're talking just a biff right now.
right, exactly. So it was like, a rudimentary programming language, but you could do some pretty impressive stuff with it. Let me lay out the groundwork. So this documentary is about a guy who loved The Price is Right so much that he would attend tapings whenever he could. He didn't live in LA, but he would go out there and visit with, friends or just by himself, and he would attend tapings of The Price is Right. And he would know the prices of the items so well that because they were repeating themselves, they would like put the same item out to bid on multiple shows, for weeks, and it would be the same price. So if you watched enough, you would kind of get, okay, that microwave oven or that washer dryer set is going to be $7.99. That because I was like that last week. And so he would go out in the audience and yell out prices to people, and eventually people would like pick up like, oh, this guy knows what the prices are. So he would help people win big showcases, and it became a thing. And so finally he got on and he lost. I mean, he did well as much as he could until the wheel got him. When the wheel is just chance, you lose at the wheel, you don't go to the showcase, the end. The game that's the most scandalous apparently was when he helped a couple, well, one person of a couple who were visiting, and just kind of standing in line with him, and he divulged this information that he knew the prices. He helped this person win their showcase by giving them the exact number. Like he knew the exact, like he totaled everything up and he gave them the exact price of the showcase. Showcase has over 3 prizes, multiple options, variations.
And if you are within like $100 of your,
yeah, right.
You win the other one too?
Yeah, you win double showcases. So if you're the winner and your bid is within $250 of the actual price, you win both showcases. He gave him the exact number. And this happened after Bob Barker left. This happened after Roger Dobkowitz, who was fired. He was the executive producer of the show. He was fired. So this was a new guard that was in charge of Price is Right. So they didn't know about this guy. They didn't know this guy. Like this guy was sort of like friendly with the old staff and like they knew about this guy. And so when this happened, they thought the current producers of the Price is Right, and Drew Carey thought, oh, the fix is in. The executive producer that was fired, like they're sending in moles to fuck us over and expose us as sort of a sham. Like Drew Carey, he was so unenthused when they found out it was a perfect bid. He was like, fuck this guy. I'm not going to make a big deal about it because he's trying to fuck me over. Like this is all, wow. They're all trying to take us down. So he was convinced that they weren't going to air the episode, A, and B, that if they were going to air it, like, they were going to get like investigated, and there was going to be a big scandal, and then the show would get canceled, and he was going to get fired. So he was not enthused when this guy hit it right on the nose. But anyways, getting back to the basic thing, he was so enthusiastic about The Price is Right that he programmed a mock version of The Price is Right pricing games with basic, which is something that I did and still have. I have like in code written pricing games, which I might show you, which I might not. But like I was like looking at.
I'm going to make fun of you. Let me clear the air. I am.
Yes. But I was watching this. I was like, wow, this is exactly what I did, except for like the cataloging and the attending tapings. I've never attended, like the 9 months I lived in LA, I have not attended a taping of The Price is Right.
The 22 years I lived there, no desire.
Right.
Management went, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you used to have to get up like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
You had to be in line.
You camp out to get a voucher ticket, and then you come back. And then you do the auditioning, like the 2-second audition, like who are you, what are you doing, whatever. Anyways, that's a long-winded explanation of me watching Perfect Bid on Amazon Prime. Jacques?
We're going to stay on Price is Right for a minute. First of all, big shout out to our friend Price is Right.
AJ?
The other day, I set up the laptop so the mother-in-law could sit there and just watch programs she loves. And it's like I just put Let's Make a Deal, and it was on YouTube. And after that, an old episode of Price is Right came up, and it was great. It was like somebody off their VCR tape, had all the commercials.
Yeah,
in there.
like the whole hour.
I point this out because there was a guy, not a small guy, but not a small guy, but not a big guy, went to spin the wheel. Did not go all the way around.
Boo.
Now, Bob Barker did not call him a pussy, but man, did Bob Barker call him a pussy. It's like I was half hearing it in the other room, and I'm like, oh, I got to check this out. So I hit the button so it could go from the laptop onto the TV. And I was like, this, well, let's see that. There was a Super Bowl win. Trying to rank where this was the greatest viewing of the year, where Bob Barker came as close to actually saying, "You are a fucking pussy. Please give me your man card, and now you go make me a sandwich."
Toxic masculinity on Price is Right.
But you know what? And rightfully so. Like
Right.
if you can't get the because you've seen old ladies come up with their walkers that have the oxygen tank who have spun that fucker around where you think it's like the people in the back row's toupees are like blowing off.
Right. It's almost like Bob Barker. Did he go up to the guy and go, "Do you need me to help you spin?"
It was so emasculating. I was like, well worth the effort. So now what I'm watching, I don't know the last time management and I did a double feature, but the other night rented both Bohemian Rhapsody. First you're hearing of this. Pretty good movie. Pretty good movie.
I like it. It was all right.
Yeah, no, I don't think
It wasn't Oscar worthy.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's because of the content.
Right. It's got
who it
great
is.
songs.
Great songs, a great story. I mean,
Didn't you think that Rami Malek played Freddie Mercury a little too taken with himself, or like reverent? Like he was reverent of his material. Like, oh my God, I just made the most beautiful thing in the world.
Very much so. And of course, you do the thing where you're like fact checking, like what was real and what was not.
God, please don't.
That awful song that the drummer wrote about loving his car
Real.
was the B-side to Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, it was interesting. I'm watching it, thinking, oh, this is great. I mean, the whole. And then right afterwards, we watched the
Live Aid.
Performance.
That's the thing that I did. It's 20 minutes of fucking heaven.
And you think again, that's 84. So
85.
You're 85. So I'm 16. You are 6.
Going on 7.
It was. If you put that song in my head, but I do. I remember it, and it's like you go down that roster of holy fuck. The names, and what it meant in that whole if we could dig up Bob Geldof and ask him, it's like, were people pledging money before Queen went on stage? Because I'm thinking they did.
Right, exactly. According to the movie, it was like nobody was calling in, and then all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, Queen, ring, 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 ring. Yeah. Okay.
And ring, ring, ring goes the trolley. Anyways, I thought it was great. I thought it was fun, but yeah, I don't think it was the Academy buzz that it had. Then we watched Split, which is the follow-up to Unbreakable.
Yep.
Unbreakable is it's just
a great movie. It's great for what it is.
100%. I mean, is that a superhero movie?
It is.
Okay.
Kind. It's more of a thriller.
In the way that Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Am I allowed to say thriller anymore?
Use another adjective just for this week.
Uh-huh.
That's a great movie. I'm very much looking forward to. I was looking forward to seeing Glass. So when I saw the previews for Glass, I didn't know there was a movie in between. So we watched Split.
I didn't know that Split was part of the universe.
Neither did I. And so, Unbreakable was huge. Box office gold. It did
it was the follow up to The Sixth Sense, so that it had a good lead in.
Right, but then I can never say the director's name.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Thank you. He
Or as we call him, Knight.
after, I think right after Unbreakable, went on a binge of really.
No, Signs was okay.
Signs was okay.
I saw Signs in the theater. That was a Mel Gibson movie.
But a lot of flops. I mean, even if the movie was okay, even if The Village was shot great and looked great,
Right.
flop.
The Village, The Lady in
Lady
the Water.
in the Water, flop.
Yeah,
I mean,
The Happening.
So he ends up doing Split almost, on an indie movie budget. Like going from, so back then Unbreakable was probably, if you look it up, probably a $70 million movie. Mm-hmm. Split was like a $5 million movie.
Yep.
Very few locations, very small cast. I knew nothing about it, but it did phenomenally well. I mean, it didn't do Unbreakable, box office, bonanza, but for the money they spent and the return, it was huge. And that's basically what he did. It brought his career back. So now he's doing Glass, which is the trilogy. Split was hard to watch. It was fascinating because it's about somebody who has 23 different personalities. And I don't care if I'm giving anything away. It was years ago, came out, but now it's in Redbox and you can get it because of Glass is out. The actor who played it, and I should know his name, played all these roles.
Yeah.
And there was one doctor therapist who was working with him who had a theory that if one personality, was a mild-mannered janitor who, wore corrective lenses because he had really bad eyesight, and another personality was this, transvestite who had perfect eyesight, like the body would chemically adjust where this person, one of the personalities would need glasses, one of the personalities wouldn't need glasses, one of the personalities has a severe, for example, peanut allergy. The other one could be a peanut farmer. You know what I mean? It's like chemically that they are real different people. And she was trying to convince the world of this, like a lecturer. She's written books, and he was one of many of her clients. And one of the personalities that there was a division within these personalities where some of them believed there was a 24th personality who was essentially a superhero, who I don't want to say a super villain, but basically the 24th personality, which some of the personalities believed was real and some of the personalities didn't, was a creature of incredible strength that was so amazingly strong, could climb up the side of a wall based on the tiny imperfections in the wall and could grasps on those, could climb on the walls and ceilings.
Yeah, like Spider-Man.
Like a Spider-Man thing. But needed to eat flesh or was like a wolf or needed a sacrificial, you need these three virgins, type thing.
Yeah, I got it. Well, that's right.
It was intense. It was really intense. One of my favorite things is the credit roll. They had the credit roll.
Funny outtakes.
No. There was 20.
Dom DeLuise and Burt
20
Reynolds.
These rosary bleeds. I heart you. But they did. And it was like the guy who was got credit for all 24.
Oh, right. I see. That's funny.
But it was good. I want to see Glass, but I did not enjoy.
So wait, you saw the guy's name 23 times and you don't know what his name is?
Yeah, it's me.
James McAvoy.
Shut up.
I just looked it up.
Show up.
I got a phone.
So Bohemian Rhapsody, well worth the Redbox. I mean, not so much the Oscar noms. Split,
You split on it?
It was tough. It's a tough watch. I mean, it's a lot of the elements from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It was hard because he had 3 hostages in a cave trying to get out the whole time.
I see.
So it was intense. But that's what I'm watching. Anyways,
great.
You got any parenting tips?
I'd say I'm proud of you when your son gets retweeted by a developer for his music. I don't know.
What do you think? My parenting tip would be if you're going to, get your kids involved in something like music and piano lessons, find somebody who's really good at it, who gets retweeted by real developers, and have him teach your kid to do piano because obviously he knows what he's doing.
All right. Whatever gets you to part with your $30 a week. I don't care what you believe.
Okay, so now it's the closest podcast to St. Patrick's Day, and we're going to end on a song. I thought about maybe doing a self-indulgent theater. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought about you doing
A Jacques indulgent theater. Let's be honest.
So, my great friend Rod Murphy is hands down my favorite performer live. His songs are great, but performer, I'm trying to put him in a category like you thought, like kind of like an Adam Sandler, like with his Hanukkah song,
Like a sing along kind of,
but
almost,
but
or
darker, grittier, funnier, sexier. I'll say that. You know, he rocks a white man's fro like nobody's effing business, and he, like me, and maybe like Joe, not the biggest fan of St. Patrick's Day, not the biggest fan of the fake Irish crap on St. Patrick's Day, and definitely not the biggest fan of the fake wannabe, can't point out Ireland on a map, or as you say, spell Ireland properly, but yet around St. Patrick's Day, gets drunk and gets the biggest Irish flag shamrock tattoo that takes up their whole arse. So the song Mass holes, right. So the song we're going out on is Stupid Boston Face Guy. That's the name of the song. I'm going to retweet it out after this with the lyrics. And if you've ever been in Boston, at around Fenway Park after a Sox game, or God forbid anywhere close to St. Patrick's Day, you know the guy he's singing about.
So take it away, sir.
Right, perfect. But first,
Yeah. What about it?
don't forget.
Don't forget what.
I hate you.
Oh, me ancestors came to this fair land, were 5 generations back. I can't understand why I act so ethnic and so off the boat, when alls I am is a watered down scrote. Identity, I never stood out, so I shined up me forehead and grabbed me a stout. I pinned all me pants and got a brush cut. I never wear socks and I act wicked tough. Surround myself with friends named McGee, O'Hallahan, and O'Flaherty. We act so Irish and so Gaelic, but alls we are is just watered down pricks.